In the coming weeks, the focus will shift to a single chimney at the Sistine Chapel, where the world will wait for a puff of white smoke, the ancient signal that a new pope has been selected. During the conclave, which is a centuries-old tradition, cardinals under the age of 80 are locked inside the Sistine Chapel, cut off from the world, casting ballots in total secrecy until one man receives a two-thirds majority vote. And in a testament to the Pope's reach beyond religion, viewers have been streaming Conclave, the film based on the best-selling novel by Robert Harris. They've been doing so in record numbers, a stunning 3,200% spike in viewership since Francis's death. And joining us now is the author himself, Robert Harris. His book, Conclave, was the blueprint for the Oscar-nominated film starring Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci. He knows the process and its drama better than most. Robert, thank you for being here. So the movie was loyal to your book. How loyal was the book to the actual process?
Well, I did my best to make it as accurate as I could. I read everything I could lay my hands on about conclaves. The Vatican very kindly allowed me to visit all the behind-the-scenes locations where the conclave takes place, where the cardinals are sequestered in the Casa Santa Marta, the Sistine Chapel, the robing room, which is called the Room of Tears, where the new Pope is he puts on the costume before he goes to show himself to the faithful for the first time. So they gave me a lot of insight, and I also talked to a cardinal who'd taken part in a conclave. I made it as accurate as I could. I was a journalist before I became a novelist, so I tried to get the facts straight.
And it was the elevation of Bergoglio, Pope Francis, that actually was your inspiration, as I understand it, taking in that scene. How so?
Yes, I watched the appearance of the new Pope Francis on the balcony overlooking St. Peter's Square. And just before the new Pope appears, all the windows, the high windows on either side, fill up with the faces of the cardinal electors who've just chosen him. And the camera panned along. I was probably watching CNN. The camera panned along those faces. And you saw these men, elderly men, some looking rather crafty, others benign, some stern, some happy. And I thought, that must be what the Roman Senate looked like in ancient Rome. I wrote a trilogy of novels about Cicero, and I thought, there's something has gone on here, an election. How did they arrive at this guy? And I thought, I'll try and write about this, because I was a political journalist. And I thought, this is the ultimate election. This is the World Cup final of elections. And let me see if I can try and reconstruct what happened.
So let me ask you to draw on your background as a political journalist. I won't ask you to handicap how it all turns out, but I'm intrigued by the constituencies. Here in the United States, the constituencies are conservatives and progressives, Republicans and Democrats. The constituencies here, by nation, I guess by ideology to some extent as well. What are those different constituencies that will have to coalesce and make this selection?
Well, you're right. Inevitably, in any organization, there tends to be a division between what one might call reformists and traditionalists. And that happens in the Roman Catholic Church. There are also regional differences. Yet again, there's a strong move this time to elect an Italian pope. At one time, the Italians had a lock on the papacy, but it's many years since they last had a pope. I think 1978 was the last time there was an Italian elected. So, those are two of the ways in which the electors might divide. There's a move to have an African pope, a black African pope. A lot of people think that would be a good idea. Others think that the Far East, Philippines, areas where there's been huge growth in the Catholic Church, it's their turn. So all these factors will play their part.
For more on that, we're joined now by CNN religion contributor, Father Edward Beck. Also with us, Director of Catholic Studies and Aquinas Associate Professor of Theology and Culture at Emory University, Antonio Alonso. Father Beck, first to you. The conclave, break down the process for us and what will happen over the period.
Well, as you know, it's pretty secretive. Most people by now have seen the movie. Streaming is up for the movie. What happens is during this time, the bishops, the cardinals are gathering in what's called general congregation. So they're getting to know one another. Remember, a lot of these cardinals are from countries that had never had cardinals before, so they don't really know each other. So these meetings will have an opportunity for them to get to know one another. They will give speeches, they'll hear one another, there'll be some dialogue, and then they will enter the conclave. And all communication with the outside world will be cut off for them. And the first day of the conclave, they have one round of voting. And it's very kind of primitive in some ways. They have their pen and their paper, and they write, I nominate this person to be Supreme Pontiff. They put the little piece of paper in an urn. They all step up and put it in. Then those votes are counted. 2/3 majority is needed. So we're going to have 135 cardinals voting. That means 90 is the winning vote. So if nobody wins on the first round, the next day there's 2 rounds, and then 2 rounds the next day after that. So it's really a process that is of discernment and prayer and them getting together to get to know each other and talk to each other. And sometimes a very unlikely candidate emerges as a result of these meetings and conversations during these days.
Yeah. Antonio, to you, it seems very kind of antiseptic, A, B, C. How much does politics influence what happens in that room?
I think what makes the conclave interesting is it's this interesting mix of the spiritual, the transcendent, and the mundane, the messiness of earthly reality. So politics absolutely plays a part in the conclave. But I think one of the most underappreciated things about Pope Francis himself was he was a great politician. He needed to build consensus with people. He knew how to use the media to evangelize through images and words. And so the next Pope is a leader on the world stage and needs to be able to do the same.
Now, let me stay with you. And it's interesting because Father Beck mentioned that sometimes an unlikely Pope comes out of that room. Then Cardinal Bergoglio was not on the list of those who were being considered. He obviously became Pope Francis. But if you look back to the election of Pope Benedict XVI, Cardinal Ratzinger was at the top of the list. So is it clear who is the outlier here? If it's more common for the front runner, the favorite to be elected?
Well, I'm sure you're familiar with the phrase papabile, the electable ones.
Yes.
But there's also the kind of this adage that he who goes into the conclave of Pope comes out a cardinal. It's a way of saying we just don't know what's going to happen. And it's just like you said. I remember watching him out on that balcony when he came out, and I was like, who was that? Yeah. So one never knows what's going to happen. And that's kind of one of the wonderful things. These men spend a lot of time together over these days, and they don't know each other that well, so they need to work together.
Father Beck, let me come to you. And I know it's probably a fool's errand to say or ask, who do you think is going to be the next Pope? But of those who you think are papable, as we're using the word here, who are your cardinals to watch?
Okay, now these are not my personal choices necessarily. I want to make that clear, Victor, but these are names that are spoken of. So let me say something first about Cardinal Tagle. He is Filipino. He was known by a nickname called Chito, and some called him the Asian Francis. He's now 67. He was a candidate last time. He's very much in the mindset of Pope Francis. And really, if people think they don't want to go back to a Western European candidate, that maybe they would move now toward Asia, now that they've had a Pope from South America. So I think Cardinal Tagle will be certainly one to watch. Another one, of course, the present Secretary of State, Cardinal Parolin. If you're going back to an Italian, he seems the likely choice. He again is very much in the mindset of Pope Francis, but he's a quieter person, kind of subdued personality. Some think that perhaps we need someone more charismatic now to follow Pope Francis. But nonetheless, Cardinal Parolin would be a possibility.
Yeah. Let
you
me
want more?
Let me get a couple. Let me get a couple from Antonio. Who's on your
Okay.
list?
Yeah, I think I would share those that Father Beck mentioned. The other one I think that's not up on the screen is Cardinal Turkson from Ghana. I think he's an interesting candidate. He was a huge advocate for Pope Francis's work on ecology and the environment. He helped author Laudato Si. But certainly Tagle, people say he's the Asian Francis. But what I think is so interesting is what made Francis Francis, what he's from Latin America.
Yeah.
And what makes Tagle Tagle is he has that experience in the Philippines, one of the fastest growing regions of Catholicism in Asia. So he would be an interesting candidate.